Here is today's big task. We're gonna take all of this paneling out and replace it with new metallic indigo blue is the color, I believe, from pontoonstuff.com. So what it is on these panels is a system of the aluminum, super thin aluminum. Yours might be plastic. This is like a powder coated aluminum. I'm gonna take this out by peeling this lip here gently. So you gotta be careful because this is thin aluminum and it can crack. Luckily in this case, it's a little bit of a U shape. You can see a pretty good sized gap there. And that's gonna make this a little easier than some. Sometimes this lip kind of just comes straight down from the railing and that can make it a lot harder to get at. There are some other things you can do in terms of cutting this right off or riveting to it. We're not going that route. We're gonna do it properly. And we're gonna go ahead and just reskin. So there's a top lip and a bottom lip. I'm gonna get a kind of a paint scraper tool in between and peel it up. I like to try to do something wide so that I don't get a bunch of dimples. We don't want it to look too bad when it's done. I always warn people it's hard to make this look factory again because they have a system or a machine that rolls that down once and done at the factory. So we're gonna go ahead, start by peeling these out. I'm gonna try to keep these intact because they're gonna make great stencils, especially pieces like this. So I can cut my new paneling because this is about 15.5 inches that I need. The paneling comes in 18-inch piece. Same thing with the door. We'll pop that out. Doors are gonna be a little trickier because we have lips all the way around. That's gonna make it a little bit harder, but we'll make it work. So here we go. This is actually the back corner, the stern entry on the starboard side of the boat. And if you look here, the tab ends here. We're peeling that back. And then this was just riveted, a lot of rivets on the top and the bottom. The edge was left exposed. It's not really sharp, but then it's just tucked into that last tab. That's one way to do a corner. I think it's pretty smart. So if you were doing this, and we will do this on the inside corners of the front and the back with the gas tank, is you just cut that trim piece off and run this along the edge and rivet it. Pretty straightforward. You could use self-tappers too, but the rivets are gonna look a little nicer in spots like this where it's visible. What are your thoughts on all this?
It's not fun and there are a lot of spiders.
Like more spiders than ever.
Well, that's debatable, but...
Early morning back at it before we go deliver a boat. We're gonna try to get a couple of these railings paneled and ready to go. So this first one, pretty straightforward. I've got the old piece, it's laying on the floor over there. So I'm gonna get an exact measurement of that, cut it as close as possible so we can slide it in and get the edge in. One side is gonna have to be peeled back a little bit extra, just being careful not to crack it because you'll see it'll start to stress where you bend it. And when you bend it back, that's when you'll crack it. So be careful there, but we're gonna get to work on this. One other thing I should mention is there were rivets in here. So make sure that you sand that stuff down so that when you slide your sheet in, you're not just scratching the heck out of the front of it. The easiest way that I've found to cut the panels to size is if you can use your old panel, you took it out in one piece, you can use it as a template, draw some lines, and then don't be a moron like me, have a guard on there, but this is a big angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, and I'm just barely scoring into that aluminum. I don't want to get it too hot and discolor it or melt the powder coat, so I'm just scoring it quickly. And then I can bend the other side of the panel because this is our keep side. I bend it back and forth a couple times. It breaks off with a nice clean edge, so no burrs or anything left. So I'm gonna make this cut real quick and then we'll get to putting this piece in to finish off this long straight panel. And then once we know that the size is right, we just lay it on, mock it up. We've had to trim a couple down, not a big deal. Then we peel both sides of the plastic. And then slide it in. You could slide it in, but getting the plastic off, you then have to run a razor around the edges, and it's just a little bit of a pain in the neck. So we are just peeling both sides and then sliding it in. And you're gonna see a lot of stuff like this where there's a center cross member and this is behind a couch. So a lot of times you'll see it where this is one sheet that was slid in this way, and then we can slide the other sheet right in, match them up in the middle, rivet them down, and then we didn't have to slide one whole sheet in. So you'll see it from the factory. They do little cheats and things to make it faster and easier, and we're just gonna copy what they do in those cases. Once your sheet is slid in, the best way that I found is taking, this is just a rubber mallet, smaller one, kind of just a dense plastic, and I'm just working and hitting all the way along, and that tends to bend it back without a big ripple effect. So we're just slowly kind of moving across, little hits, but lots of them all the way across. And then being on a solid surface like concrete and being able to put pressure down helps a lot, because when it's solid and you're hitting straight down and there's not rattle, the lip bends back much smoother and cleaner. Then once you're done, you can go back and look at it. And if there's any risen spots, like I can see one down here, I'll come back and give it a couple hits to smooth it out. This is the most spidery boat. Maybe not the biggest and scariest, but the most, by far. And in case you wondered, they live in your railings. Any hole or nook and cranny they can get in and live in this, they love it. Okay. Got a bunch out along the side that are done. We have basically just the other side and then the rear, and we're done with the paneling. Here we go. And those railing panels are in. Looks about as close to a brand new boat as you're gonna get. Still got to put the MC numbers on and keep working on this project. Thanks for watching.